was.
Oh, go ahead now, Mrs. Scott, please.
Oh, boy. Would you stop that? Remember, you're doing this for the money, just for the money, okay?
Wally, hit the lights. We'll get it right outside the door. Mrs. Scott, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just give me a minute.
You saw something, didn't you? Something that scared the heck out of you. How about it, fellas? Did you see anything?
Not me.
What was it, Mrs. Scott?
I don't know. I don't know. I dropped the candle.
Sure you didn't set this up, Eddie?
Are you kidding? I was nowhere near the lady. I was with you guys. This is no kind of a gag. Why didn't you get a picture?
I didn't see anything to take a picture of.
Well, Mrs. Scott saw something. I told you she was psychic. She's sensitive to this
Look,
kind of thing.
I don't know what it was I saw. Maybe it was my imagination, you know? Or maybe it was a poster or something.
Well, we don't keep any posters here. I mean, look for yourself.
Well, then I don't know what it was.
April? April, what's going on? What's happening? What are you doing?
Gentlemen, this is the lady's husband, the attorney, Draper Scott. Get a shot of both of them.
No pictures! I want to know what's going on. Honey, you're as white as a ghost.
Hey, well, she saw something. You knew your wife was psychic. She saw something that nobody else could see. Isn't that right, fellas?
How about that, Mr. Scott? Do you really believe your wife can be contacted by spirit? I believe my wife should get the hell out of this place and come home. I should never have allowed her to come here in the first place. She's going to have a baby. Get out of here.
Mrs. Scott, before you go, could we ask a few questions? I mean, what happened tonight is news, and the public has a right to know.
It's okay, Draper. And besides, a deal's a deal.
What happened over there, honey?
Did you see a ghost?
I don't know. I saw something. It was only there for a few seconds, and I told you I dropped the candle.
I told you to keep your camera ready. Well, it probably doesn't matter. They say that your ghosts are like vampires. You can't take pictures of them.
My boss would be pretty unhappy with a roll of blank film, Eddie.
You know, this is real convenient for you, Eddie. I mean, we didn't see anything, and we didn't get any pictures. Do you really expect us to believe what Mrs. Scott has to stay on this?
I told you she was very sensitive to the spirit world. Probably this ghost wouldn't let anybody else see it but her.
Is that true, Mrs. Scott? That you have experienced a supernatural phenomena before?
I don't want to talk about my past.
Please, don't pressure her, boys. Don't pressure her. She's had a very frightening experience, and besides, she's pregnant.
Hey, no offense, Eddie, but you know the rule of our business. Whatever a politician or a press agent says, you take with a grain of salt.
Lots of people have seen funny lights and things out here, and a lot of other things have happened, too.
Give us a break, Eddie. You did hire Mrs. Scott. She's not exactly an impartial observer.
Are you accusing me of setting this thing up? You think she's a fraud?
My wife is not a liar, Vaughn. Well, maybe she has a very vivid imagination.
I told you I did see something.
Why don't you describe it?
All right. It was a woman.
She look anything like Nola Patterson?
I don't know what she looked like.
A witch, of course. Honey, could it be an illusion?
Look, Mr. Scott, fellas, if you see anything around here that looks like a wicked old witch, I wish you'd point it out to me.
Look, all I know is that I did see something. It might have been my imagination. Maybe I just saw what I was afraid I might see.
Hester Atherton, the witch that doesn't want this picture made. Right, guys?
That's enough. If my wife said she saw something, then she saw it. And that's all the questions I'm going to let her answer about this right now. Come on, let's get out of here.
Mr. Scott, one more question.
Mr. Scott.
Oh, Mr. Madison, your leading actor left you before you could even begin production.
Well, I say good riddance to him and his superstitions.
You mean to tell me he really left because he thought there was a curse put upon him by, what's her name? Hester Atherton?
Well, Dr. Kavanaugh diagnosed as his illness as hypoglycemia, but he absolutely refused to believe that it wasn't Hester's ghost casting the evil eye on him.
Well, I can assure you, Mr. Madison, I don't have a superstitious bone in my body.
Unfortunately, that isn't the main criterion for playing the role of Nicholas Haromand.
I'm sure that Elliott can do it, Owen.
Darling, we're not talking about a walk-on. It's a starring role.
No.
I'm well aware of the responsibility, Mr.
Elliott, I know that my wife thinks that you're perfect for the role, and she says that she'll feel comfortable working with you, but upwards of $1 million is riding on this film. Now, that may not be big money by today's standards, but it's big to me.
Well, as I told your wife before, Owen, I was involved in some theatricals before, even though it was on an amateur basis.
I see, but your most recent job was running a nightclub. Now, what happened to that?
That ended with my marriage. You see, my wife and I didn't have any children, so Margot thought she'd take custody of the club instead.
Owen, you'll have to agree that he looks the part.
Oh, you certainly are the image. There's no doubt about that.
Satanic?
Yes, and fatally attractive. The devil should be fatally attractive, in my opinion.
Well, I can give you my ex-wife as reference. She thinks I'm the devil himself.
Now, about your amateur experience, what was it?
Well, I was involved in the drama department at the university where I taught.
And a year or so ago, you had another sort of role, didn't you, Elliott?
Well, I'd rather not discuss that, if you don't mind.
Oh. Well, it doesn't matter. Oh, and there's simply no way of knowing whether Elliott is right for the part or not until you and Jason hear him read for it. Isn't that right?
Yes, yeah, I guess that's right.
And he may turn out to be exactly what we want, and then we can start shooting.
Well, I guess we have nothing to lose.
And maybe a great deal to gain.
All right, Mr. Dawn. Can you come out to the soundstage tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock? That is, if you're available.
I'll be there, Mr. Madison.
Good.
At the moment, I'm very available. Mrs. Madison.
As soon as we finish going over the schedule for the 11 o'clock news, I'm leaving here.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. I thought this morning you said, no thanks, that you were going to stay until all hours working on that FCC survey.
Well, I was, but I have a date.
You do? Good for you.
Well, it's with April. Draper's working late, and she said she'd come over and keep me company. Have a little girl talk. Yes?
Hello, everyone.
Oh, wow.
Miles, hi.
How are you?
Okay.
Just what the doctor ordered. How are you, Margot?
Busy, as usual.
So would you like to come out to dinner with Nicole and me? We'd love to have you.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you, but I'm meeting April.
Oh, well, that's nice. Give my little sister our love.
I will.
Where would you like to eat, Mrs. C?
I don't know. Doesn't really matter to me. As long as I am with you.
You know, Nicole has really been a tremendous help to me. Not only is she taking on extra news work, but she's also helping me with this darn paperwork.
Really? Mm-hmm. If that's the case, you know, it might be a very good time to hit her for a raise. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm kind of vulnerable right now. You might even get it. It might be a good time to try.
No. Wouldn't be fair.
Oh, Miles, as a matter of fact, I'm glad you're here. Doctor, I have a little medical question for you.
Oh, now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It's after hours. My fees are an awful lot higher, you know.
Oh, well, don't be so petty. It's about your sister. Actually, what I wanted to know was, with her head injury and considering the pregnancy, do you think it'd be all right if she came back to work fairly soon?
Well, the head injury didn't amount to much, so I don't think there's any problem there. As far as her pregnancy is concerned, I think it would be a better idea for you to ask Dr. Buckley.
Don't pay the fee, Margot. The answer wasn't worth it.
All right. Well, then I'll just talk to Dr. Buckley. Do you have his number?
Her number?
Well, do you have her number? Oh, come on. I think it'd be all right if I talked to my daughter's doctor.
Well, yes, I suppose it would, except that I just would advise you to make sure that you let April know that you're talking to her, and let Draper know, too.
Yes, well...
Anyway, if she is as healthy as I think she is, I'm sure that Dr. Buckley would say that it's perfectly all right for April to work practically until the moment they wheel her into the delivery room.
Well, that's good news, but I just had a horrible thought. I've got to go out shopping. I have to buy myself a cane and a shawl. Do you realize I'm going to be a grandmother?
Oh, Margot, please don't do that. Don't make yourself old before your time.
Well, speaking of time, I think I'd better go. April may be at the apartment already. And besides, you two want to start your evening. Have a nice evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
She's still pretty down, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. You know, the real reason I think she wants April back here so fast is because she needs to have somebody close by her who loves her. Just a second. Hello, Margot Doran's office.
Nicole. Oh, it's Draper.
Oh, Draper, hi. How are you? Margot isn't here. Is there anything I can do for you?
Well, I was just calling to tell Margot that April wouldn't be able to keep her appointment with her this evening.
Oh, listen, Margot just left the office, but I think I can catch her before she leaves. Miles is here. Do you want to talk to him?
Yeah, that would be fine. Thanks.
Okay, here he is.
Draper, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine,
How's
Miles.
April?
Not so well. She wanted to keep her appointment with Margot tonight, but I persuaded her to stay home and rest.
What's the matter? Did you get a hold of Dr. Buckley?
April says she doesn't need medical attention.
All right, what happened?
She had a bad experience, Miles. She was pretty shaken up. It happened over on that movie set where they're shooting Mansion of the Damned.
What was she doing, some kind of a follow-up interview?
No, strictly freelance. She thought she could pick up a few extra dollars moonlighting. I should say candle lighting.
Well, doing what?
April was trying to add ghost hunting to her list of accomplishments. Turned out that she did it better than she thought. Miles, look, I know it's late, and this may be an inconvenience, but could you and Nicole stop over this evening? I'd really like to talk to you about this.
Well, yeah, we're just on our way out to dinner, but we can stop by.
That would be terrific.
All right, I'll see you then. Ghost hunting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I wonder how long it's been since April and Draper have been out for a quiet evening.
Draper's dinners usually consist of a cold hamburger and a container of coffee at his desk.
How do you know that?
Well, I usually see Anna cleaning up the remains in the morning.
Oh, that's no way to live.
Tell Draper that.
You're worried about him, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I suppose good old-fashioned hard work never killed anyone, but Draper may be putting that adage to the test.
Is he still taking on too many cases?
Any other lawyer who would carry a caseload like he does would require 2 law clerks to assist him.
Mike, haven't you talked to him about overdoing it?
Sure, I have, but every time I bring up the question, he changes the subject.
Well, it's not good for him. And it's not good for the firm, Mike. This can't go on indefinitely.
Well, I just hope he comes to that realization intellectually before all these hours he's putting in catch up with him physically.
That's all so unnecessary.
Well, as far as Draper is concerned, he has to earn $35,000 to repay Margot back as quickly as possible, and damn the consequences.
He really shouldn't take such a hard line on that.
Well, he feels as if he won't own that home until he pays that debt back.
Can't April talk some sense into him?
Well, I'm sure she's tried, but... Nancy, the trouble is Draper's problem goes a lot deeper than just a meddling mother-in-law.
Really? Why else would he be going to all this trouble?
Well, he hasn't talked about it, but I'm sure he's not been able to forget what happened in New York.
Yeah, well, I can understand that.
He was on the verge of getting the job of a lifetime, and since Seward, Paxton, and Whiteside didn't give him any explanation for their change of heart, he has to assume it was because of some inadequacy.
Oh, but he's a fine lawyer.
Sure he is, but that was a rough blow to his ego. I think he's trying to compensate by taking on as much work as he can to prove that they were wrong.
Well, you know why they turned him down.
Yes, I know. Oh, thanks.
Thank you. Mike, there is something that we can do to help him. You know that.
I still think we should not get involved, Nancy.
We could talk to Margot.
Do you really think that Margot would admit that she used her influence to keep that job from him getting that job?
She might if she had to face the facts.
I doubt it. And what good would it do, Nancy? Draper has a lot of animosity towards her now. This would only widen the rift.
I know. But, honey, for several reasons, this situation can't go on.
Well, you know, there might be another way to approach this.
I'm listening.
Margot's not the only one who knows the truth. David Henson does, too.
Of course. I wonder if he really knows what he did. He probably doesn't realize that Margot manipulated him.
I could talk to Mr. Henson, face to face. I'm going to be in New York later on this week for a meeting on that Palmer suit.
But will you have the time?
I'll make the time, Nancy. I think I'm going to invite Mr. Henson out for a nice, friendly meal.
And that's why I think Miles and Nicole should come over.
No, I think it's silly.
Well, I trust Miles' judgment. Believe me. Look, he's going to be here any minute, so just relax,
okay.
all right?
What did you get them?
Yeah, it's all taken. See, there they are now.
Speaking of the devil.
And you thought you were the only one who had supernatural powers.
Some people's wit.
Oh, thanks for coming so fast.
Hello. There you are. What did you do? Run over here? I'm okay.
Are you sure you're all right?
Draper tells us you let yourself in for quite a scare this evening. What's this all about?
Well, maybe you should give her look her over, Miles, just to make sure she's feeling all right.
Draper, I do not need medical attention, thank you. Besides, Miles doesn't treat family, he told me.
Draper told Miles that you were on some sort of ghost hunt tonight. Now, where on earth did this idea come from?
Eddie Vaughn, the PR man who's promoting Mansion of the Damned.
Yeah, you know, we have been getting press releases from him every single day about mysterious lights appearing in the studio at night and inexplicable accidents happening on the set.
He's the one that made a big deal out of Trent Archer quitting the film because he thought some sort of a curse had been placed on. The poor guy had a case of hypoglycemia, that's all.
Well, Eddie also thought that the ghost of Hester Atherton was haunting the studio, and he offered me a very pretty sum of money to find it.
What happened?
Okay, well, I started to do some exploring. I thought the thing was just absolutely ridiculous. And I started going up the stairs of the set when I became aware of a red glow coming from somewhere behind me, a red light. So when I turned in the direction of the light, I did see something.
Hester's ghost?
Draper, it was the form of a woman, and she was shrouded in this red glow.
How did you get selected for this honor?
Well, I told you the other night that I had told Eddie Vaughn that I had had these visions and premonitions, and he figures I'm psychic and I'm just sensitive to all these phenomena.
Yeah, a psychic who also just happens to work for a television station. It's very convenient.
Ah, so you also agree. April was being used.
What better way to get TV coverage than to have the reporter herself get involved? He's a very shrewd man.
He certainly got what he wanted.
Well, I'm not so sure he didn't get more than he wanted.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, I don't know exactly what it was that I saw. And it could have been my imagination, or it could have been optical illusion, or maybe it could also have been the ghost of Hester Atherton.
I don't think you saw a ghost, April.
I'm sure you didn't. One simple reason. There ain't no such animal.
I agree. Look, I would be surprised if it were Nola Patterson, in makeup, hiding around here someplace, trying to get free publicity.
No, I don't think it was Nola Patterson tonight. Somebody told me they saw her in Monticello. Unicorn, as a matter of fact.
Okay, so y'all think I'm having visions again?
Well, no. Well, yes. Just the vision that this Eddie Vaughn planted in your head. He wanted you to see a ghost, April, and with the help of your imagination, all the atmosphere, he got exactly that.
No, wait a minute. I prefer the idea of optical illusion. You were in a cluttered studio, right? And the only illumination you had was the candle. It must have been a lot like WMON when the lights are out.
It's true, you know, whenever I walk through that studio and it's dark, I see all kinds of shapes, really.
It could have been a prop hanging, you know, from a grid, or a poster. It maybe a mannequin.
No, I'm sorry. This whole thing was just too real. You know, I started attempting to sketch it earlier. Let me see if I can finish it and give you an idea of what this thing looked like.
Well, fellow ghost hunters, I could use a drink. How about you?
Oh, all right. Scotch on the rocks?
Nothing for me, thanks, Draper. I'm no Rembrandt, but this is kind of give you an idea.
Here you go.
Oh, thank you. Don't worry, honey. Who knows? If you turn out to be good at this, maybe sketching should be your hobby instead of ghost hunting.
Here, if you can get the idea. That is pretty much what it looked like, what I saw.
Good heavens.
Is it that bad?
What's wrong?
Oh, no. It's too good.
But Miles, do you remember at Margot's party that she gave her mansion on the dam, and I told you that I thought I saw somebody out on the terrace looking in at us?
Yes, and then we went out to investigate, and there was nobody there.
April's picture is an exact likeness of what I saw on the terrace that night.